Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. So yeah, it's about 11:30 on a pretty chilly Wednesday morning, going into the afternoon here. So I hope everyone's doing good. So today is I'm doing this is like a again I like to do these little kind of sidebar videos, even though it's obviously very much about movies and my experience around a certain film. But I like to do, I like to try to tie in things, kind of sidebar or topics that are related to film that are, I think pretty important. And, all of these things mean a lot to me as a viewer, as a fan, as a film fanatic, if you will, as a collector of films, and somebody who watches movies all the time. So today is going to be a little quick little discussion about, for me, well, I guess a pretty big reason or reasons why I don't stream movies. And again, it's not like I don't, I try not to be judged, you know, at the end of the day, it's about trying not to take it so seriously, because at the end of the day, it's about, watching a movie, trying to have a good time, and that's it. And it's like, it is what it is. That being said, I also feel like, it's an important thing to me. It means a lot. For me, it's a way of kind of decompressing from the world, whether you've had a good day or bad day, or um, it's a way of escaping, And to me, that's the kind of very definition of seeing a movie. That's what it really means to me, and it's at the core, and it's a magical experience. So today is about, like, basically, my, and I've talked about this a lot, and I try not to be judgmental, because I understand with streaming it's so convenient. It's in some ways, well, I think in one regard, at one point, I don't think it is anymore, but at one point it was a cheap way to see a movie, a cheaper way to see a movie, as opposed to, like, going to a rental store, which doesn't exist anymore, or buying physical media. The only place that does that, provides that service in the entire state, is Opera House Video. It's they are literally the last man standing in regards to a place you can go, like a physical place, see actual human beings, interact with these human beings, and actually, rent a physical copy of a film or a TV show, and even buy a movie or TV show. So, it's very different, but so I understand the convenience and the luxury of that. I think with price hikes and because there is so much competition in the world of streaming, there's so many companies right now that offer that it's kind of hard to keep up with. But there are so many competitors, since Netflix has kind of become who they are, that obviously, the prices have gone up, and prices with everything in this world have gone up astronomically. But with streaming packages and all of these things, there's so much competition. So of course, that economically, that puts more pressure on people and the businesses and all of these things. But but I understand. So I don't think now, as far as the it being a cheaper thing, a cheaper way to go, like looking at streaming as from an economic standpoint. Oh well, it's just a lot cheaper. It's. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's actually more expensive now. Because you can rent, you can go to Opera House Video and rent a new movie or TV show for just a couple of bucks and have it for a few days, as opposed to, like, almost double that cost now to see one show or to see one movie, and to go against that, or have that scenario of where TV shows and movies are certain movies basically get taken down and you cannot see them. You don't have access to them. So it's very different now. And so But the convenience of it, I understand. It's super easy. You can watch it on your phone. You can watch it on your laptop. You can watch it on your watch. I mean, um, but last night I went over to a buddy's house, and again, before I get into that, but so I one of the things I really love about doing this channel is I really love. There's been a lot of people commenting on the videos, and I've been like interacting with other film fanatics out there, people that love film like me, and I that's one of my favorite parts of doing this channel is kind of connecting with people. Some people I do know in person or I have met in the mortal flesh, and then a lot of folks I have never met, and we just have this bond or commonality when it comes to film, and I really appreciate. There's been a lot of folks commenting on these videos lately, and I love that interaction. But before I get into the actual movie I watched last night, was I had posted a little video, a review for Heretic, starring Hugh Grant, which I just saw in the theater. Very cool movie in a lot of ways. The way I described that movie in the review is it's a really good movie until it's not. So, but I definitely recommend you know try to if you get a chance, see it in the theater. I would recommend the movie overall. I think it's a little bit on the longer side, or at least it feels like it kind of drags a little bit. But as far as when it comes down to the experience, visually there's some really beautiful things. The story is pretty original, I will say, even though I feel like the movie went off the rails for various reasons. I still think it's pretty solid. The thing that I like about it is it's totally original. It's not an IP. It is about it's kind of considered to be like religious horror, I guess. But and I think it is, but it has typically when you hear the term a film that's like part of the religious horror genre, at least for me, I think about um, possession movies, movies that are about a kid or a little girl being possessed by the devil or a demon, and that's typically what I think about when I hear religious horror films. And this is, even though again I had a lot of issues with this movie, I don't think it's a great movie. It could have been really good. There's some great moments. The opening scene, the first act is really great. Hugh Grant is fabulous in it. All of the cast is really great. But again, I felt it missed the mark. But I still think, for me, that movie commands respect. I do want to see it again. Um, but it commands respect for me automatically because it is unlike any other movie out there. And as far as like religious horror, it does something really different. And I I think it even though I had a lot of issues with it, I think it commands like respect because it's its own thing. They were definitely trying something different. It is something significantly different. It's not a reimagining of a film. It's not an IP. It's not part of a franchise. Blah blah blah. Which is, virtually those are things that we are a part of all the time nowadays. So it gets my respect because it's very original. But anyway, this morning or yesterday, a gentleman who is also a fan, film fanatic fan, he comments a lot on the videos, and he was saying on how, and I had said, overall, like, I probably would recommend this movie, but I definitely feel it's a movie to see on the big screen if you're going to see it. And he had commented saying that he was gonna try to find it online and stream it. And I commented back to him this morning saying, well, no, you should, if you get a chance, do yourself a favor, and if it's still playing in the theater, which it just came out on Friday, even though I had issues with it, if you're going to see it, I'd say go to the theater because you're going to at least have you're going to have a pretty good film experience. Don't bother streaming it. That's basically what I said. But again, do what you want to do. And so that leads me to tonight, or to tonight, today's show. Today is so last night I went over to a buddy's house, a friend's house. A band that I play in, we had to do a band that I play in. We have a band that I'm in called Split Willow. We have an album that we recorded about 3 years ago is finally coming out. It's going to be out digitally next month, and so there's a website being built, and then a few other things that are happening around it, and it's kind of exciting that this album is finally coming out. So last night, typically Tuesdays we have band practice. Um, But instead of some of the guys in the band have been or out are out of town, so instead of doing a regular practice, there was another gentleman who is a writer for the local newspapers. He is going to be building our website, and he wants to, and then he wanted to get a lot of information about the band and its members, and so he set up this whole thing of where we were going to be just interviewed as a band. So that's what we did last night. We had a pretty cool, we got together for like an hour and a half or so, and we each got interviewed separately and then collectively as a band, and it was cool. It was a fun. I enjoy that thing a lot, So it went pretty well. We had a good time, and then it was at my friend Emmett's house, and then he's a huge movie fan too, and we have a real big love of film together. So but for the most part, he is somebody who streams most of. He goes to the movies, but most of the content that he watches or sees, he streams mostly everything. So he's like, "Hey, you want to hang out and hang out for a while? We can watch a movie." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I hung out afterwards after after our not rehearsal, but after the interviews and stuff were done. We decided to hang out, and watch a movie, and I had recommended a couple of. I've been, this year has been very good in the world of horror. There's been some really great films, and one of the movies I had said to him that I really liked. One of my favorite films this year is a movie called In a Violent Nature, which is I did a review of that a couple of weeks ago. I saw it on DVD, and I really liked that movie. I thought it was, the story, the genre narrative of the film is not really new, but the way it's a slasher movie, it's a straight up slasher movie, kind of, just a paint by numbers slasher film. But the thing that's so, I think, interesting about that movie is it tells this really kind of traditional story or narrative in the slasher genre. It tells it in this way that is completely original and completely unique. So that's the thing I really loved about that movie. It does something really, really different within the genre of the slasher film, slasher horror films, which is my favorite genre. So so we watched that last night. We watched it on, I think it was Netflix, and so he streamed it, and we watched it. And I have to say, it was great to. I thoroughly enjoyed it again. But after we got done watching, I could not wait to. It's definitely a movie I want to buy on Blu-ray. I have not seen it on Blu-ray or 4K, and it's definitely a movie I really, really want to buy on Blu-ray and 4K. Because we watched it last night in streaming, and there were parts of it where I was like, "Yeah, this looks really good." There are, anybody out there who has seen this movie, I definitely recommend seeing it. There are lots of these incredibly long, kind of panning or shots of where the killer, everything is kind of shot from his perspective, and there are all of these long scenes of him just kind of walking through the woods for incredibly long periods of time. There's no dialogue. It's 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 uh it's kind of unique, and it's a little bit it's surprising. And I thought visually it looked really good, but there were certain scenes in this movie visually I thought it just looked like dog shit. It was all blurry. There are scenes in the movie where a lot of this film is shot, I think, with natural lighting anyway, so it does have a little bit of a darker color template anyway because of that. So it's a very naturalistic movie. Like there's no music. The sound, all the sound you hear is really the sounds of the woods and the forest and nature. It's a very very naturalistic, kind of raw experience that way. And I think that really makes gives this movie something really unique to say because of that. And so, um, but I felt watching it through this platform, watching it through Netflix, there were moments of where, and it's always been a complaint of mine. There were certain scenes in the movie that were dark, and they were darker than I remember it being, to where I almost couldn't see it. And there were other scenes in the film, especially towards the end, of where the it was the picture was almost like blurred out. It was everything was off, like the pixelation. And I attribute this whole thing it's as to why that happens to films when they are streamed through these different platforms. It's the compression that is put on these films, meaning that, like, I don't, obviously I don't know exactly how the technology is used as far as, when you take a film that has got a theatrical release and then it is formatted and to a degree remastered from that, transferred to say DVD or Blu-ray and 4K. Obviously there are settings and there is a certain form of technology that's used for that, but then also the technology that is used for streaming, just like what Spotify does and all of the music platforms out there. I do know that there is this heavy level of compression that is put on movies and music for it to be kind of propelled through that format. Meaning, where it's meant to be a thing of kind of crushing everything down a little bit so it can jump out at you as the viewer or the listener a little bit more. But what that means is that means everything is all the pixelation, the audio quality, everything is kind of mashed together, and to where I feel like it kind of gets the quality, all around quality of everything kind of gets strangled, so it can fit a format. So I feel like the pixelation becomes erratic. The compression on the audio gets maxed out. There's no Because of the compression, there's not any dynamic range, like loud to quiet. Everything kind of comes out at the same level, and I notice that's what I notice when it comes to like the audio part. But then also with film, with the actual pixelation with film, what I notice what happens is, especially in horror films, there is when things get dark, it gets so dark to where you can't see it. Like there isn't enough. You miss the discrepancy discrepancy between the dark and the light. There isn't that contrast. The loss of shadows and subtlety. It's all either it's very well lit or it's incredibly dark. There's no in between. And I think that's all due to the compression. And that's exactly, the experience I had with watching In a Violent Nature last night through Netflix. It was like there were moments I thought it just looked terrible and it sounded terrible. And this was, he has a very nice setup, nice TV, pretty solid. And it's interesting because I went to a movie a few weeks ago, and there was the director of this film was there, and he was super cool. There wasn't many people there, but he had a. It was at the Colonial Theater, and there was a Q&A afterwards, and the director was very very cool. I did a video about it. Check it out on YouTube. The director was really cool. There was a Q&A, and we talked about this. I talked to him. I asked him about what his feelings were about this very subject, and I kind of felt validated because he's like, "Yep, you." He told me I nailed it completely. He's like, "Exactly. That's the thing. That's the problem that he has with streaming in general." So I felt like, okay, maybe I kind of was correct. And again, not judging people for streaming films because I understand it's the convenience of it, and in some ways it's financially cheaper. But I just feel like it really dumbs down and waters down the experience of seeing a movie. And that's why today, like I said, I posted a video on Heretic, the new Hugh Grant film, and a gentleman had said, "Oh, I'm gonna," and it's a brand new movie. It's still in theaters. It came out on Friday, and he was like, "I'm gonna find a way to stream it." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "No, no, don't. That's cool if you want to do that, but go to the theater and see it. At least give yourself, you know, that experience. Might be if you're, might be a few dollars more, but that to me is worth the experience." So anyway, I just wanted to make this quick video basically about another example of why I don't stream films and for what it's worth. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Peace.